Talk. On today's podcast, we have a very special guest, former Cornell defenseman Jaime Bourbonnais. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Jamie, and how's everything going?
Thanks for having me on. Everything's great. I've just started training again in Montreal, so it's a bit different not being at Cornell, but other than that, everything's been going well so far.
Yeah, and how's your quarantine been going overall, and what have you been doing to pass the time during this unusual pandemic?
Yeah, it's been different for sure. My summer was a lot different than it usually is. I honestly just did a lot of training this summer in the gym. My gym luckily was open for the majority of the summer, so I still got to go and work out. Obviously, the on ice stuff was a bit different. The rinks were closed for a little bit, so that was a different part of my summer. But the majority of it was just spending time with my family, which is something I don't get to do very often, which was really special. And spending time with my dog too, which was awesome.
Nice, nice. I want to start off talking about before you went to Cornell. You grew up in Mississauga, Ontario. How did you start playing hockey, and how did you fall in love with the sport?
So my brother played hockey. I always wanted to be like him when I was younger, and my parents tried to put me in figure skating and figure skates when I was really, really young, and I hated it. And I don't remember my parents telling me that I came off the ice crying, just begging them to put me in hockey skates. So from a young age, I always wanted to be a hockey player, and hockey's in my family. It's been in my family for a long time. My grandfather was an Olympian. He played for the national team at 2 Olympics. So obviously it's been in my family for a long time, and it was just something that I wanted to do from a young age, and I stuck with it my whole life so far.
Yeah, I was reading about your grandfather. He played in 2 Olympics, was captain of Team Canada. What have you learned from him? Has he taught you anything that has helped you for your hockey development?
Definitely. He was a great leader. Obviously, he's very humble with me, but I've talked to Pat Quinn. They were really good friends before he passed away. And I remember Pat telling me how great of a leader and how great of a teammate he was. And that's something that I learned from my grandfather, to be a good teammate. He says he was a captain of the team, but he wanted to act as though he wasn't above everyone, which I really respected. He said that he obviously was a leader and made sure to lead the way for his teammates, but he also acted as an equal with them, which I've always kept in mind. It's really important to have an equal playing field with everybody and treat everybody with respect, which is something that I've tried to do throughout my time at Cornell and just in hockey in general.
Yeah, and growing up, who was your hockey idol, and what part of the game do you try to model to your game today?
So my hockey idol was actually Laura Fortino growing up, which is kind of ironic because I've played with her now a few times with the national team. I remember when I went on my first visit to Cornell, my coach, obviously at the time he was trying to recruit me, and I remember him telling me that I played similarly to Laura Fortino, and that was kind of like a wow moment for me to hear that, because growing up I'd always loved the way she played. She plays such an offensive game as a defenseman, which I always admired about her, because a lot of D don't get the credit that they deserve for being steady defensemen. So you kind of have to do a little bit more to kind of get that attention a little bit. And she always stood out no matter who she was playing against. She was always one of the best players on the ice. And I wanted to model my game after her. And then my first time playing with the national team, she actually presented to me in my jersey with Team Canada, which was really special, and it's kind of a surreal moment.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. And before Cornell, you also played for the Oakville Hornets in the PWHL. Talk about that experience and how it helped you prepare for college hockey, since the PWHL is one of the best junior leagues for women going into college hockey.
Yeah, we had a great team, a great coach. I've said many times that Brady Cochran is one of my favorite coaches I've ever had. She was an amazing mentor and honestly just such a good friend too, and was always there for you. Obviously, high school is a really tough time. You know, everybody's trying to figure out where they're going to go to school, and it's really stressful. And it's also a big time of your development. And it was really stressful for me. And she was always there for me and leading the way. And Oakville, our team was amazing, which helped so much. We had some great, like some of the girls that I played with are now moving on with the national team as well. Like Emma Maltese, for example, is one that comes to mind. Sarah Fillier. Like we had some great players on that team, and it definitely helped my development. And yeah, I miss those girls. I miss that team a lot. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you also had the opportunity to represent your country in the World Championships, as well as be part of some development camps as well. Talk about what it's like to compete against the best players in your country and represent Canada on the national stage.
Yeah, it's honestly a feeling that's hard to describe. I remember my U18 first championship, standing on the blue line and listening to kind of the mini opening ceremonies they had. They pretty much just played a video on the Jumbotron of past U18 teams competing in the World Championship, and I had chills. And it's a dream of every women's hockey player, I think, to play for your team, for your country. And when that came true, it was honestly surreal. I can't even put it into words. And now to get the chance to compete at the highest level is something that I've been working towards my whole life. And obviously, I'm still not satisfied with where I am, and I want to continue to keep playing and keep getting better. But I'm really proud of myself for making it onto the top team and playing with the girls that I've looked up to my whole life.
Yeah, and I want to talk to you about your recruiting process. Why did you choose to go to an Ivy League school and specifically Cornell? And I know the process is a little bit different going to an Ivy League school versus another school like a Minnesota or Wisconsin. So I was just curious what the recruitment process is like and why you chose to go to Cornell.
Yeah, it was actually honestly more my parents that kind of made me realize how important education is on top of hockey. Obviously, hockey was a big part of my decision to go to Cornell. They have a great team. The coaching staff is unbelievable, and Cornell in general is just an incredible school. But I also was thinking long term. Obviously, being a female hockey player right now, there's not really a sustainable league for us to play in that will provide us with the money that we need to live our lives. So thinking about that, I wanted to make sure that I had a good education so that after hockey, after I'm done playing, I'll still be able to get my own job and make my own money. So that was a big factor going into it. And then honestly, I went to visit Cornell. It was my first school I visited, and I fell in love with it right away, and I never really looked back.
Yeah, and I want to talk to you about the coaching staff at Cornell and what they've meant to you for not only yourself personally, but for your hockey development as well. And have they taught you anything about the game that you didn't know before?
Yeah, sorry, my dog is barking.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, my coaching staff at Cornell is amazing. They have taught me so much, both on a personal level and on a hockey level. Coach Edith, she is a great friend of mine as well as an amazing coach. I learned so much from her, and obviously Coach Jackson and Coach Doug, we call him Coach, but they both are amazing. They have so much knowledge, and they're also so personable and make coming to the rink every day really fun. And Coach also, he coaches with the national team as well, so it's really nice having that familiar face when I go to tournaments and stuff like that. So they're incredible. I honestly can't say enough good things about them. I miss them a lot, and still get on Zoom calls with them here and there and chat, which is really nice, and that's a special relationship.
Now, I have to ask you, how do you balance both academics and hockey at such a high level at such a prestigious university like Cornell? Because as a college student myself, it's hard to balance the academic aspect of college just on its own. But adding playing hockey at a Division I school, it seems like it would be very tough. So how did you do it?
It was very difficult. Honestly, I think the best thing I can say about that is my teammates were so driven, and we have a lot of very intelligent girls on my team. And obviously hockey has always been my number one priority, just because I've always had a dream of playing on the national team. And a lot of the girls at Cornell were very focused on school, which I respected so much out of them. And they really pushed me to kind of be a better student. Um, and honestly, every time we went on road trips, they were doing work, and it kind of made me realize, like, okay, I got to do some work, which really helped me. And honestly, the resources too at Cornell are incredible. I had an advisor that I visited with a lot, and they were able to help me if I had to miss for hockey tournaments or for games on the weekend. I was able to reschedule exams or get maybe an extension on an assignment, stuff like that. So kind of using the resources and honestly using my teammates as a little bit of motivation to do some work too.
Yeah, what was the biggest adjustment you had to make to your playing game after playing your first few college hockey games in the ECAC?
Yeah, I think my biggest adjustment I had to make, being an offensive defenseman, I had to simplify my game quite a bit. In the PWHL, I was more offensive, and I like to carry the puck end to end, which is not really something you can do when you're playing in the ECAC at the highest Division I, like you're playing at the highest level. So my first couple of games were rough. I'm going to be honest. I got there and I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to ever adjust to this? And I had a really rough start, and I had a few meetings with the coaching staff, just kind of like, what am I doing? How can I fix this? How can I be a better player? And it was more just simplifying my game and trusting myself and knowing that I deserve to be there, and not trying to overdo it and try to prove myself, but just like I said, simplifying my game and just going back to the basics, and that really helped me find my game at Cornell.
Yeah, and during your freshman year, you made the national tournament and played against Clarkson, a team you played in the ECAC championship in the previous week. Talk about your first national tournament experience and what you took away from it.
Yeah, our first year when we made that tournament, it was amazing, especially because the year before the girls at Cornell didn't have that great of a season, and it was kind of a disappointing year. I know a lot of them talked about that it was very disappointing. And then my class, when we came in, we made it our goal, obviously, to make it to that tournament. So when we made it there, it was an amazing feeling. It was like my freshman year to make it there. It was absolutely incredible. And obviously playing Clarkson is always very tough. We have a very good rivalry with them, and we played them 2 weekends in a row, which was it was very difficult. And I was very proud of our team. Obviously, we didn't make it to the Frozen Four that year, but I was still so proud of us for bouncing back after the year that they had before, and to be able to come back and have such an amazing season. And it really helped us throughout the next 3 years.
Yeah, and now during your sophomore year, you lost to a great Colgate team in the ECAC semifinals. What went wrong during that game, and what could have the team done better to help get a better result at the end of the
Yeah.
game?
So actually, yesterday I'm in Montreal currently training with some of the national team players, and Jessie Eldridge is here, and she actually played on that team, scored the winning goal with 1 second left to beat us in that game. And we were actually talking about this yesterday because I said to her, I was like, honestly, yeah, we lost that game and it was heartbreaking, but that was one of the best hockey games I've ever been a part of. And she agreed with me. Obviously, they won it, which was awesome, but she said it was just such an emotional roller coaster. And I don't know if you know what happened in that game, but we were losing 4-1 and we came back and tied it. And they ended up winning with 1 second left. And that was heartbreaking. And I was actually in the penalty box when that happened, which was even more devastating for me because I felt like it was kind of my fault. I know obviously it wasn't fully my fault, but um, definitely took some blame for that. And it wasn't really a loss that I ever got over, even to this day. Like I used that as motivation, and we had a great team sophomore year, and we weren't able to get it done, which is it kind of felt like it just felt like we could have done it and we didn't. So to have that behind me and to have that feeling, it really motivated me going into my junior year and senior year even.
Did not making the national tournament also add to that motivation going into your junior year?
Definitely. I mean, like I said, my freshman year we made it, and that was an amazing feeling. But that's kind of what we were used to at that point. Obviously, it was just 1 year, but we made it my very first year. So that's all that we knew. So sophomore year, having that taken away from us, it was heartbreaking. I remember sitting in the dressing room and watching the unwrap, like when they announced which teams are going, and they were listing each team, and we were just hoping and praying that we were going to make it. And when we didn't make it, it was just kind of like, well, we deserved to be there, but we didn't pull it off, and we didn't play the way we should have, and we didn't win the games that we needed to win. And that was heartbreaking. And we knew when that happened that the next year we were going to go, because I could see it in everyone's eyes how disappointed everyone was, and we knew the feeling of being there and we wanted it back.
Yeah, and on a more positive note, in your junior year, you won your first national tournament game against Northeastern, who was fantastic that year. Talk about that win and what it meant for Cornell and you personally, especially beating a team like that on the road.
Yeah, that is one of my favorite memories of my hockey career in general. I mean, at Cornell, definitely, I've been asked many times what my favorite memory was, and I think it was that overtime winner that Gillis scored. I was on the bench and I couldn't even watch her when she got the puck. Diana Buckley made a beautiful pass and she went on a breakaway, an unreal move, and I couldn't even watch. Playing Division One, everyone wants to go to the Frozen Four. That's the goal, and um, it was so close. And especially going into overtime, it's right there. You can smell it. Like it's all you have to do. It's one shot. It's one goal. It's all you need, and you're in the Frozen Four. And for us to actually make it there, it was relief. It was just a sigh of relief. It was incredible. And Northeastern was an incredible team that year. They still are amazing. They have their goalie, their defense, everyone is so good on that team. And on the road too. I mean, it's very hard to beat teams at their home barn. So it was a really special game.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about the Frozen Four experience, not just on the ice, but off it as well, and just the entire scenery that you experienced. Because I went to a Frozen Four myself, obviously as a fan, and it was a really cool experience. It was in Boston, the pep bands, just the whole red carpet treatment. Talk about what you experienced there and what you remember the most.
Yeah, it was really special. The thing I remember the most, I think, was the little banquet that we had beforehand. Um, Obviously, I remember the game that we played against Minnesota. It was awesome. It was a great experience, and we were so proud to be there. But the banquet was especially special, I think, for all of us because we'd never been there before, and it felt like we were kind of the underdogs again. We'd never been to a Frozen Four championship as a team, and a lot of the players there had been before. So us walking in, it was like I said, like we felt like the underdogs, even though we knew that we were a great team. We were in the Frozen Four. I wouldn't necessarily call us underdogs, but it felt like that, and that was a good feeling that we had because that's how we felt our freshman year, and we were able to be really successful that year. So it was almost like a little taste of freshman year again, which was really nice.
Yeah, and you lost to Minnesota in that Frozen Four. What do you remember from that game, and what did you take away from that whole experience?
Yeah, that game, that was an incredible game. It was low scoring. I think it was 2-0 with an empty net. We played our hearts out, honestly. It was Minnesota is one of the best teams they have been for a long time, and we were really proud to be there. We obviously wanted to go to the national championship and we would have loved to win that game, but it was definitely a really important moment for us to play a team like Minnesota and see how we could compete with them. And we did lose, but we still knew that we were able to compete at the highest level, which was a really good feeling and good motivation going into our senior year, and especially before going into the national championship again. Obviously, we had that taken away from us, but we had that in the back of our heads, which was really motivating.
Now, speaking of your senior year, Cornell was by far one of the best teams in women's hockey this past season. What did you do to maintain that success throughout the regular season, and what role did you play in that, especially since a lot of those ECAC teams were going at giving their all to try to beat you guys and knock you out of the rankings?
Yeah, it was a very different feeling than freshman year. Like I was just saying, my freshman year we were the underdogs, and then my senior year it was the other way around. We were the team to beat, and we had to really focus. I mean, we had all eyes on us all the time. It was honestly a lot of pressure, and we had some really good teams in the ACAC: Princeton, Quinnipiac, Harvard. They were all amazing teams. Clarkson, I could go on and on. So we had a very tough league, and I think that's what made it more special was knowing that we were ranked number one and we were playing in, I believe, the toughest league in the NCAA. So we had to honestly really trust each other, and a big part of it was having fun. Like I said, there was a lot of pressure on us, and we felt that stress at times, but we had so much fun as a group that it wasn't like a chore. It wasn't a job to go to practice. It was we couldn't wait to go to the rink and play hockey, which definitely added to our success.
What type of leadership did you want to bring that team, especially since you're a senior and you experience a lot of different things being in a Frozen Four and playing in different ECAC league championships?
Yeah, I think like I just said, like I just wanted to show them that hockey isn't a chore and it's fun, and we can still be the best team and have a good time and enjoy what we're doing. And I think a lot of times, especially when you're playing at a high level, hockey can get really repetitive, and some people can get really tired of going to the rink. And I mean, speaking for myself, even like sometimes I felt really tired. I didn't want to go to practice. I didn't want to go to the gym, but it was really important for me to continue to keep the room light and have some fun. And I tried to have a positive attitude at all times, and but also lead the way on the ice and play my heart out every game. Definitely senior year, you don't know how many games you have left. You don't know when your season's going to end, so you want to make sure that you're playing every game as hard as you can. So that was kind of the message that I wanted to send to my teammates.
Yeah, unfortunately, your team lost in the ECAC championship game against Princeton in a very close game in overtime. What emotions were you feeling after that game, especially since it ended up being your final collegiate game?
Yeah, that's heartbreaking. I haven't really even been able to watch anything from that game. I haven't watched the goals. I like it's heartbreaking. It was a very good game, and I owe it to Princeton to say congrats. That was a great comeback, and but I truly feel like we deserve to win, especially after having such a great season. Like I said, Prince is an incredible team, and they also deserve to win. I mean, if you're going to come back in the ECAC championship to a 2-0 deficit, like it's incredible. But yeah, I mean, at the time we didn't know it was our last game at the senior class. We didn't know, so we kind of were using that as our motivation fuel going into the national championship. But obviously now we know that that was our last game, which is makes it a little bit more. It stings a little bit more, but um, yeah, I mean, there's not really much I can say. It was heartbreaking.
Yeah, and your team was supposed to play Mercyhurst in the national tournament until it got shut down because of COVID. How'd you find out, and what was your reaction, especially since you were a senior and your other seniors as well? What were their reactions as well?
Yeah, I think the worst part about that was we were very optimistic that we were going to be allowed to play. We had 3 games max left. We had Mercyhurst, and then we had, if we beat Mercyhurst, then we had the 2 games maximum. So we were like, okay, yeah, the pandemic's getting pretty bad, but maybe they'll let us play 3 more games. Maybe they'll let us play just with no fans. So we were pretty optimistic. I was pretty optimistic. I think I was in denial a little bit that there was a chance that we could get shut down, but um, I found out on social media, honestly, right before I walked into my dressing room, and I walked into a room of a bunch of crying teammates, which I'll never forget that ever. That feeling of, it felt like we weren't done yet. We didn't prove ourselves yet. We didn't show what we could do, and I truly feel like we had the team that could have won a national championship, and we didn't get to show that, which is, I think, one of the worst parts about it all.
Yeah, and a more positive note, what did you take away from your experience at Cornell, and how did it help your hockey development, not just as a player, but as a person off the ice as well?
Well, I think the way that it ended really taught me not to take anything for granted. Like I said, your senior year, you don't know when you're going to be done. You don't know how far your team's going to go, when your last game's going to be. And when it's your last game, it truly is, that's it. So don't take anything for granted. That was the one thing that I learned in my time at Cornell. It flew by. And I've said this before, but as a freshman, everyone tells you that it flies by, and you're like, okay, whatever. And I 4 years, it doesn't fly, like 4 years is a long time, but before you know it, it's done. Um, yeah, that's the biggest lesson I think I learned, was to really cherish every moment that you have. And then obviously there's so much that I learned hockey wise too from my coaching staff, like I mentioned before. Just my confidence. I think I gained a lot of confidence playing at Cornell, which was it's really big for me, especially now going to play with the senior team. I'm going to need that to continue to make the team.
Yeah, and I want to talk to you about some of your teammates. You got to play with one of the best college hockey players in Christian O'Neill. What was she like as a teammate and a friend off the ice and as a leader as well? Because we had her on the podcast previously, and she might have been one of the nicest people I've ever met, honestly.
Yeah, she's a great player, great person. We were very close my freshman year. We lived together my sophomore and junior year as well. And she's a great teammate, great leader. She's one of the hardest working people I have ever met. I don't think I've ever met anybody else who works as hard as her. She's disciplined in her nutrition. She's disciplined on the ice. She's disciplined in the gym. Everything she does is it's honestly incredible to watch. I don't understand how she can even do that. Like, it's mind boggling. She's also probably the fastest player I've ever been on the ice with. So yeah, she's an incredible teammate. She was a huge reason for our success at Cornell, and we definitely could not have done it without her. And we missed her in a couple games against Clarkson. I think we could have really used her, and that was really heartbreaking, especially because she was a key part of our team. But overall, she's an incredible teammate, incredible player.
Yeah, and another teammate you got to play with was Mika Sandyhart. I saw a video you guys had with Canada about like a me and you or something like that. It was pretty funny. What was she like as a person and teammate off the ice as well?
Yeah, Mike is awesome. She's one of my best friends, honestly. I lived with her my senior year. We have a lot of fun together, and I think that is one of the most special relationships that I've made in my time at Cornell. She's a really great friend and someone I can always count on, which is awesome. And she's also a great player and has taught me a lot. We're both defensemen, so I always looked up to her. She was centralized in her sophomore year, so to be centralized in college is obviously an incredible accomplishment. And she was like an idol to me, but also a really good friend. And yeah, we have a great relationship. I love her to death. And yeah, that video was very fun to make. That we had a lot of fun doing that.
And we're now in the segment I call 5 questions with you that have nothing to do with hockey. My first one is, what's your favorite class that you've taken at Cornell?
Oh wow. Oh gosh. Okay, I think my favorite one has to be human bonding. I actually took it with Micah my senior year. It was really interesting. It was about kind of human connection, and it was about love and babies, and it was really interesting. And I loved the professor too, and it was a really fun class overall.
What music do you like to listen to?
I like country music. I think you might have heard that a lot from hockey players. We love our country music, but anytime I was on the aux in the dressing room, I would play that, and some girls didn't like it very much, so I got kicked off. But but no, I love country music.
Who's your go-to artist or song?
Luke Combs is my go-to artist. I don't really have a favorite song by him, but definitely he's my favorite artist.
Now, besides yourself, who has the best style on Cornell's women's hockey?
Besides myself, yeah, myself. The best style. Oh man, Micah has some pretty good style. I'm gonna say Amy Curlew just because she doesn't think she has good style, and she always makes fun of her own style, but deep down she has good style.
Nice, nice. If you could have lunch with anyone in the world, who would it be and why?
Oh my gosh, probably Penny Alexiak, just because she is an inspiration and her story is incredible, and I loved watching her at the Olympics.
Now, since the fall season has started, what's your favorite part about the fall, or what? Yeah, just what's your favorite part of the fall?
Favorite part? Pumpkin pie has to be my favorite part. I love pumpkin pie, and I just got home. I'm having Thanksgiving with my family, and my sister and my mom are making pumpkin pie, so I'm very excited about that.
That's right. Canada Thanksgiving is this Monday. I'm not used to
Yes.
this as an American, so my bad.
Yeah.
uh, what advice would you give younger players pursuing Division One college hockey career, especially in the female world?
Yeah, I've said this before today even, but like I said, have fun and don't treat hockey as a chore or as a job. I mean, it's time for you get to spend with your teammates, and it flies by, and it's yeah, I miss Cornell every day, and also don't take anything for granted. Like I said before, again, obviously it's very, very repetitive, but it's truly what I believe deep down, especially now that I had that taken away from me the end of the year. I didn't get to finish out my season with my teammates, and I wish more than anything that I could go back and redo it all. I feel like I took it for granted, and I didn't really cherish the moment that I had with my teammates and at Cornell. So that's my biggest piece of advice. Have fun, really enjoy yourself, and really cherish and yeah, cherish every moment you have with your teammates and at your school.
Now, what should be done to help grow women's hockey?
I think what we're doing now is amazing with the PWHPA. It's an incredible league that we've started, and it's really generated some talk around women's hockey, but also just women's athletics in general, which is really important. Obviously, supporting other female athletes is going to be key for us to help promote our game as well. We have to support each other as much as we can. Watch the WNBA finals, or the playoffs, I mean, which has been awesome. So yeah, I think the PWHPA is a very good start for us. We just have to make sure that we're getting ourselves known, and try to change the culture around women's hockey, kind of change perspectives on it. Obviously, a lot of people have some negative perception about or about women's hockey in general. So I think if we can start to change that, then we'll be able to have a league and be professional athletes.
Now, what's your thoughts on the current Cornell team now, and what are your expectations? And is it going to be weird going back as a fan, not as a player?
Definitely. I'm really excited to see what they can do. Having Maddie Mills named as captain, I think, is a really great thing for that team. Her and Kristen were both, like I said, Kristen was one of the hardest working, but I think Maddie was a very close second. Um, Very, very incredible player in person, and she's going to be a great leader for them. So I'm really excited to see where her leadership takes them. And then obviously the girls on that team are incredible. And I don't know the freshman class, but I've heard some great things about them. So I'm just overall really excited to see what they can do. And I'll be cheering them on, even though it'll hurt to not be with them, but I'll make sure to show my support for those girls, definitely.
You have now graduated. What are your plans after graduation?
Yeah, so like I said, I moved to Montreal. I'm living with Erin Ambrose, who played for Clarkson, and she plays for the national team. So we have an apartment right downtown Montreal, and right now we're just training with the PWHPA and with the national team. So working out and skating, that's basically it, honestly. And It's a big change not having school. And when I graduated, I was like, oh yes, no more homework, no more exams. But now I'm really missing it, and I guess I didn't realize how much I would miss that. So um, yeah, just training for now. My goal obviously is to go to the Olympics in 2022. So that's kind of the what's on my mind and what I'm pushing towards right now.
Well, before we let you go, is there any shout outs you'd like to give to any former teammates, friends, or family members?
Oh my gosh, I could talk about this for hours. I'd like to give a shout out to Micah and just thank her for being a great friend and a great teammate. She helped me through a lot of hard times at Cornell and really led the way for everybody. And after we graduated, she wrote this long, I don't even know what to call it, this long journal about her thoughts and her emotions on the end of the year. And it was really special that she took the time to do that for us. So that was really amazing. And then to all my grandparents too. I guess they were so supportive of everything that I've done so far, and they continue to support me through everything. And they always made an effort to come down and watch me play. Both sets of grandparents were able to come to Cornell, which is really special, and I'm really thankful to have all of them in my life. So that's my two that I would say.
Well, thank you so much, Jamie, for coming on. I appreciate it so much. I wish you all the best in the future and stay safe. And yeah, I thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Have a great day.
Thank you. So much fun. Bye.
Bye.